Try this talk just off the cuff, and it's to do with the movie Alien. I was looking at a couple of reviews of it the last week or so, like that, and I had a chance to watch the film a few days ago as well. So I watched the whole thing from start to finish. And when you start looking at movies and breaking them down, you start to notice kind of like that has to have. Sometimes it can have a couple of underlying themes in the film. This is interesting, but because this is what keeps people really interested in the movie itself, and especially if it can stand the test of time. If a movie can stand the test of time, you can bet your money that it has alternate themes running through it that are kind of like subliminal, but what the film is really about, and then what you actually see on screen. So what you see on the screen with Alien this is just my take on it. I was looking at it and I was taking a look at it, and I was taking a look at it from the point of view of different aspects. And one of them was, obviously there's the corporate function and the everyday people. The characters are great in Alien. So the everyday people are kind of like trapped in this dark, brooding, no light really getting through spacecraft. And they're under the command of corporation. So when corporation sends them wakens them out of hypersleep, sends them to some of the quadrant to check on a possible alien life form. They're controlled by money, they're controlled by what they have to do by the corporation. And you can see it in the characters in the film. The characters in the film, especially the women in it, apart from Sigourney Weaver, which I'm not really completely taken with. Her character seems like an anomaly to the rest of them. But especially Veronica Cartwright, like, she doesn't want to be there at all. She just can't stand the corporatized position, and the men that are around her and stuff like that, they're not sticking up for her in a spiritual sense as well. So she's angry at them as well, and angry at Sigourney Weaver's corporatized. She's taken over corporatized as well, and seems more aligned with the corporatized structure in Alien than Veronica Cartwright's character. But the men, even the ones that are laughing and joking, like Harry Dean Stanton and Yaphet Gatto, they're kind of like the everyday kind of people in the film, but they're not really doing what they need to do as well. They've allowed themselves to be stuck spiritually in this dark, enclosed spacecraft with very little light coming through. So the monster is really a depiction of, it's basically a corporate monster. That's really what it is, whether the monster's there or not. So it impregnates them with its point of view. And it's interesting that he impregnates John Hurt's character. He didn't impregnate one of the women characters in the film, because it would have been interesting that. So it's even like gender splicing a tiny bit like that. It can impregnate man or woman, right? So, and Ash, played by Ian Holm, brilliantly played by Ian Holm. What a great actor that guy is. He was great in so many films, that guy. He's the corporatized, undercover corporate robot who is foreseeing everything and has no emotion, has nothing, and he's there pretending to be one of them. If you look at the performance of Ian Holm in it, it's very, very good. Really, really, really good. And he's watching over the whole thing, and he doesn't like humanity either. He doesn't really like them. He's kind of like, he's on the side of the corporate monster. So really, in loads of ways, like many films, all the structures of films really it's between light and dark, the spiritual, no self, whatever you want to call it, the spiritual energy, the creator's energy, and the dark, dead force. So the corporate force is taken over. So it goes one step further when the alien comes on board, because it is the corporate monster taking over all of them. They're all dead already. If you look at Alien, right, from that standpoint, Tom Skerritt's character is a corporate dead monster in his own right. He's given up his spiritual essence. He's dead. Most of the people in the film are dead. Even like John Hurt's character, who gets impregnated with the alien, he's dead as well. They're kind of like they're interested in the wrong things. They are where they shouldn't be. You know what I mean? That's a good way to put it with Alien. The characters are where they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be in a dark, brooding, kind of like enclosed, trapped off away from the light. They're dead kind of already, and it's like limbo for them. It's like they're all kind of in limbo. Even if they escape the creature, they're still in that corporate monster. They're still in the belly of the beast. It's a really kind of like claustrophobic movie. It's a scary kind of movie. Really what makes it work for me, the whole thing makes it work for me, is that the characters in the film are so believable, and they're not putting on any kind of like any acting performance within the acting performance. They're not accentuating anything. It's just very down to earth and very kind of like, they react the way that normal so-called normal people would react in the situation. They're not trying to promote themselves with smart lines here and smart lines there. And they're just everyday people in loads of ways, stuck in this situation where they don't really want to be in. In some ways, the corporate monster, the alien, is their savior in so many ways as well, because they don't really want to be there. They don't want to be there. They want to be taken out of their misery. So when the creature takes them out of their misery, there is a kind of a sense that they're kind of like they were expecting it, and maybe it's the best for them as human creatures. Just say, as us as human creatures, if we allow the outside to put us into situations where we don't really want to be, that we don't belong there. We don't belong in the darkness like that. We need to have light. We need to have spiritual light. We need to be led by the Creator, okay, with His software, with His hard drive. If we allow ourselves to be enclosed into a dark space with a corporate creature, then we're going to pay the price, and we're kind of like dead already. So that's the way I look at Alien. I look at it that way, you know, and there's loads of different facets going on with it. But it's an unusual movie. If you look at it again, it's an unusual movie, especially the people and the characters in the movie. It's unusual, you know, but it does highlight where we are at as a species in loads of ways. You look at China and stuff like that, when they're just automatized, standing in line. None of them have any kind of like movement. They haven't got any original movement at all. Maybe one of the reasons why I try to make films and do things that make me feel uncomfortable, maybe even get arrested by the police and stuff like that, is that kind of like, well, even if I do everything that I'm told to do, if I don't do this, I don't take any risks, I don't do this, I don't do that, then okay, but I'm dead already then. I'm dead already, you know? So if you look at Alien from that standpoint, it is like many movies, like I just said a minute ago, maybe I didn't finish the line. It's the fight between light and dark. It's the spiritual against the corporatized darkness. And that corporatized darkness is everywhere. Look at it everywhere. You can see people are robotic. Just say even kind of like, sometimes I even mess around with it, even where I work a tiny bit. I mess around with it a tiny bit and say things to people that kind of they may feel a bit uncomfortable with, but in some way it's kind of like helping them out to a certain point as well, to try and jar people to a certain point of like, you know, this is not anything to do with us. This is formed around us, and we happen to be there because they print the monopoly money, right? But given to our own circumstances, if we were led spiritually by someone, that's why women have to be led spiritually by a man. Even that line of kind of like, I don't need no man. Well, a man needs a woman less than a woman needs a man, just say, for instance, because they need to be led by a man who is that way inclined. That's what's really deep in their software. So when you see the people in the corporate structure, they're kind of like they're in it and they don't want to be in it, and you can kind of jar them out of it a tiny bit with a bit of humor, and it can kind of like, if you don't take it too seriously, but you do your job seriously, but you don't take it too seriously, you can see them kind of like a little bit going, well, you know, this is kind of like, you know, not to be taken all too seriously the way they wanted you to take it seriously, but do the job the best to your ability, but you don't have to buy into their plan of life, if that makes sense. So Alien, I view it that way. Great film, great performances. John Hurt was great in it. Tom Skerritt was great in it. Veronica Cartwright was great in it. Sigourney Weaver was really good in it. She's a bit of an anomaly in it, in a kind of weird way, because she's the woman character, and she's kind of like, she is detached in a way that the creature is. She doesn't seem to have her womanly functions there at all. So she's kind of like a good fight with the creature in some way. She's missing things as well. I yield.